It's nice to see you all. Good afternoon. Thanks so much for coming out today. So, as Matt mentioned, I'm April Underwood. I am our Vice President of Product, and I joined last summer to look after our platform. And I'm going to talk a little bit about platform at the end, but around the end of last year, our CEO, Stuart, asked me to step up and run our products team. And so I personally feel like I have the best job in the world because I get to work on the future of a product that I love dearly and that I already had sort of fallen in love with before I joined Slack. And I think that's how a lot of us feel. So we take our work very seriously. We care a lot about craftsmanship. And so hopefully you'll understand a little bit more about our plans. But I'm going to start by helping you understand the problem that we see that we're setting out to solve, and also the way that we're tackling it so that you can understand how we're thinking about a roadmap in addition to what some of the specific things are that we plan to do over the next coming years. Matt made a really fantastic Freudian slip there when he said the next couple months, and since he's one of the product managers on my team, I'll be excited to see the plans for how we deliver all this in the next few months. But suffice it to say that this is a longer-term roadmap, and you'll see pretty conceptual and focused on the problems we're trying to solve. So if we jump ahead, and we take a look at why is Slack emerging now, and why is there a need for Slack now? Well, we really see that there has been a significant shift in software, particularly software for the workplace. And what's happened is that there have never been more options than there are today for any task that you need to get done at work. And we think that's a really good thing. We think it's actually just, reflects sort of the power of technology, also the sort of the ways in which it's easier than it ever has been before for developers to build great apps and get them in the hands of paying customers. That there are now, it's reported that many enterprises are actually using more than 600 different apps at work. When you think about that, it's just kind of a mind-blowing number. And what it indicates is that there's been this significant proliferation of these applications, which means none of them work together particularly well. And the trick is that they all dump eventually, typically into your email inbox. And so all of these apps you use together, they send notifications, they send you reminders, they nag you, and they end up in the result, which is that actually a lot of our teams, there's a stat out there that people are spending nearly half of their time at work just in email and looking for information. We view that as a real problem. We want people to be able to focus on getting their work done and be able to be productive as a team and happy in their work, kind of an idealistic concept, but that's what we're working towards. And so what we want to do is really offer a tool set that helps all of these applications work together more seamlessly and really help people get back to the work and do their best work, and to do that inside Slack. So we've used Slack as a new way for teams to work. It's an operating system that brings all of your applications together and starts by helping the members of your team to be able to communicate in a really effective way. And so, what we see with Slack, our vision for how we'd like to see our customers use Slack is to actually drive more communication into public channels to drive transparency, to make your 1,000th employee be able to show up and have the benefit of all of the sort of institutional knowledge that's been discussed inside your team over the years before they joined, and to be able to have access to all of their applications really tied together in a single place. And so when you've got the people communicating within your team really effectively, making use of channels and being able to offer our rich search capabilities on top of them, and then you've got all of the apps plugged into Slack such that your notifications are coming into Teams so that they can take action upon them more quickly. We're seeing real results, and we'll share a little bit more about what we hear about the actual results that we see and that we're hearing reported back from customers like you. And so we think we're onto something, but we still we have so much further that we want to go towards this vision. And it really ties back to our mission as a company. And so our mission is to make people's working lives simpler, more pleasant, and more productive. And so as VP of Product, one of the things that I do is help us make decisions about what we're going to work on next. And so when we hear customer feedback, or when we come up with ideas of our own, we hold those ideas up against these three, these sort of attributes. And if it hits all three, then it's pretty straightforward, and we usually get started working on it. But if it doesn't hit any of them, then we question whether or not it's actually something that's right for Slack. And so we very much internalize this mission. We refer to it often in the office, and so it's not just a cliche that we look to our mission. We really do. We find it to be a sort of a North Star for us when we think about where we want to take the product. So one of the things that we really value is hearing feedback directly from our customers about how they're using Slack. Because we use Slack too, obviously, within Slack, and we're still learning about the best ways to do it, and we learn a lot from our customers. And so a couple examples from probably right here in this audience. I know that the Times and Sunday Times are using Slack. Their digital teams have been using Slack to start to do their stand-up meetings, their daily check-ins, inside of Slack, rather than actually taking that time from everybody's day on a daily basis. And so they've reported that they've seen a 60% reduction in meetings based on that and the other types of communication within their team that they've moved into Slack. So I could certainly use 60% of my day back. So they're ahead of me on something, which is really, really awesome. And we love hearing that feedback from our customers. And then there's Ocado. I went on a run this morning, and I think I saw 4 Ocado trucks, so I can see that they are as successful as we've heard that they are. So they deliver groceries to 200,000 households here. And they've been using Slack to communicate both across their very distributed team. And they're just finding that it's making them much more productive, and they've actually been able to increase the number of times that they actually ship new versions of their product. I think they've moved from monthly down to weekly rollouts of improvements to their software. So really cool to hear these examples. This is what inspires us. And when we look at our daily active users, and we've seen phenomenal growth, and we're very humbled and grateful to see this kind of growth. We don't just see the number of 2.7 million daily active users. To us, it's really about the individual customers that we get a chance to hear from, and their specific use cases that help us figure out where we want to go next. So we just hit our 2-year anniversary earlier this year, and it's just really exciting to see that so many people are finding value in Slack and are adopting it within their teams, and that adoption is spreading throughout those organizations. So we take feedback very seriously. I've never worked at a company to date. I actually worked at Twitter, but I've never worked at a company that responds to basically every single tweet and also every single support query that comes in through Zendesk. So we respond to 1,000 tweets per week and 3,900 help desk tickets. So I hope that you guys would also say that if you've needed to reach out to us for help, that we've gotten back to you quickly and we've been helpful. It's something that our customer experience team focuses on day in, day out. So that is something that we consider just a critical investment to being able to actually live up to our mission, as I mentioned earlier. So I'm going to dive in a little bit into our product themes. Actually, I should take a quick moment in speaking of feedback and ask all of the Slack folks, particularly our accounts team, but really anybody from Slack, will you raise your hands or jump up and down? It's hard to see you from here, but please make sure you talk to these guys. When we think about feedback, one of the other obvious important forms of feedback is the feedback we hear directly from you. So talk to any of us. We are all ears. So product themes. Themes are useful because they take big problems and help us divide them down into logical, smaller buckets. So for the product folks and engineers and other technical folks in the audience, you're probably pretty familiar with this. So the themes that we're thinking about in our roadmap are around communication, so both communication amongst people, but also communication with apps. But we don't think communication itself goes far enough. We actually want to shorten the distance between your team being able to get the information you need, make a decision, and take action upon it. And so we've got some things that we're working on, particularly with our platform, that are going to help with productivity. But we're also looking at all the things that we can do just to make it easier to find the information that you need, make those decisions, and then get your task moving forward. And finally, we think that transparency is really one of the key features that makes Slack different, particularly when teams are using Slack to communicate in many public channels, thus building up sort of like your company's brain that is accessible to anyone so that people can actually get answers more easily without having to sort of put a tax on other members of their team by asking the same question over and over and over again. So we're thinking about a lot of ways that we want to be able to tackle that, and a foundation for that is that transparency that we have to build that brain of your company's archive of information. So when we do think about these themes, we think about them in terms of what can we do, but we also think about what is the surface area in our product that we can expose to developers so that they can help join us in this mission. So we really view ourselves as a true platform in which we want to be able to make all of the things that we're doing with our customers and all the ways in which our customers want to work, really expose that to developers in a way where they can join the cause and can help solve more problems far faster than we would ever do on our own. And so we work currently with hundreds, if not thousands, of developers in our platform, and we're seeing everybody from the largest software companies in the world, folks like Microsoft that build Skype, and all the way down to 2 to 3 person startups that are building apps on our platform. And so when we build new features, we're constantly looking for how we can do that also in partnership with other developers that are working to tackle the same problems. So, focusing on communication. A couple of the things that we're focused on for communication is just helping teams be able to work easily in the moment. And so there are a couple of ways that you can tackle that. We can make we can make it easier for people who are actually writing messages to express themselves more thoroughly and sort of bring attention to the most important points in their messages. And so we're looking at easier ways to offer message formatting. We offer some pretty lightweight message formatting today, but we're looking at how we can make that a little bit easier to discover and easier to use so that you can use things like bullet points and bolding and italics, all those sorts of things you're used to using to be able to help people sort of parse and identify the most important aspects of what you need to communicate. And so that's an example of the types of things that we're doing to make communication more effective within Slack. We're also looking at threaded conversations. Does anybody here want to see replies or have the ability to reply to a message that may have been from a day ago or so? Anybody? I can't see you, so I'll assume you're all raising your hands. We're working on that. And that's actually a really good example of our focus on craftsmanship, which is that it's really hard to get right. And so we've been working at it, and we've been trying a number of different approaches to that, and we're still not quite there. We want it to, when we launch this feature, we want it to be really, really great. And so we're out there seeking, actually doing user research and really going very, very deep with how we approach this problem, because it's a really fundamental challenge in any sort of mode of communication. And so we want to be able to do it in a way that works well within Slack. And so we're going to keep polishing that until it's going to be a really great experience that's going to be helpful and sort of in response to a lot of the feedback that we've already gotten from customers asking for this feature. We've launched voice calls. Have some of you guys gotten a chance to try calls? Yep. Great, awesome, thank you. Guy in the front. So we launched calls just a while ago. It's currently in beta, and it's on our desktop clients and also on Android and coming to iOS soon. And so, the rationale here is that as great as messaging is, sometimes you need that live mode of communication, and it's just easier to switch to voice. And so we wanted to give our customers a great tool to just be able to initiate a quick phone call with other members of their channel. We want to extend that into video as well. But while we do that, we're also working with a number of the third-party calling services to figure out how we can make it just as easy to initiate a call with one of those services as it is with Slack calls. Because as I mentioned, we think and act like a platform. And so we're going to be active. You'll see us making it just as easy to initiate those sorts of services as it is some of the new features that we've built in-house. So one thing that's pretty amazing to hear is that 77% of the Fortune 100 are already using Slack. And so we have some very, very large customers that are using Slack within their organization. So we are actively working on a set of tools that will allow administrators to more easily be able to roll out and also manage the use of Slack in much larger organizations. And the way this oftentimes happens is that the natural groups within a given company have their own Slack teams. And so we're looking at ways that we can help unify those teams and make it easier for admins to manage them and for the members of those teams to be able to rely on Slack as a way to communicate with other people that may be way across the organization on the org chart. And so we're working really actively in this area, and Matt's actually one of our product managers taking the lead on that. And then finally, one of the areas that we're really excited about is what we're doing with what we call our Search, Learning, and Intelligence group. This is a new group we just spun up in New York, and you can think of them kind of like a research team, except that we plan to put the research and the, the hard science that they do to work right away in features inside of Slack. And so some of the things we're focused on, at the most basic level, is just make it easier for you guys to find the features that are already available in search. There's actually a lot of powerful tools, and it's fun when I sit with customers and I mention some of the features we have in search. Invariably, they say, "Oh wow, I didn't know that was there," and so that's bad on us, and we'll work on that to make it easier so that people can actually find what we can already do. But we want to go much further, and we actually want to be able to start to expose experts, help you find experts within your organization. We'd like to do things like recommend channels that you might want to join to keep up on topics that seem to be interesting to you. So we're building a lot of that core technology underneath the surface that will make it possible for us to be able to help you and your teams manage the, the potential for there being a lot of information to consume and keep track of in Slack. And so we're offering those tools to help you tame that and be able to tune into the most important things. And we want to make sure that as auto-magical as we possibly can with a lot of hard technology behind the scenes. And finally, I will talk a little bit about platform. And so, we already have, we already have roughly 300 apps in our app store. It's actually a bit more than that now, but we launched with 150 in our app directory in December. And so we are just seeing a phenomenal number of really creative developers that are building great applications on top of Slack. They're solving things from expense reporting to managing stand-up meetings to making it easier to order tacos to your desk. And so there's just this really wide variety of apps being built on our platform. And so what we're focused on is building new capabilities that make it easier for them to not only push information into Slack so that your team can see it and take action upon it, but also we're taking some steps to make those messages more interactive. Adding things like buttons, for example, that make it easier for an app that might ask a recipient to say yes or no, approve, reject, a variety of different things to be able to take advantage of that surface area and actually make those messages more interactive. Because we think that the future of the platform and the future of these apps is not just about conversation and messaging, but actually about a blend between messaging and being able to interact with the apps you use at work, like you would another human, and also being able to have some lightweight ways to be able to interact with it like software too, with formatting and buttons and all the things that you expect that give you the context that you need to be able to actually take action upon something within another application. So for example, if there is a developer that builds a great expense reporting tool that makes it so that you can submit a photo and basically upload a photo into Slack, and it starts to parse that photo and identify all of the details from that receipt and starts to build an expense report for you, then you should be able to have that bot, that app, have a conversation with you and ask you whether or not it's gotten the details right, and for you to be able to say yes or no and eventually submit so that you could potentially build an entire expense report without having to leave Slack. And those are the types of things that we want to enable. And that's really just, we're really at early stages of this, and we're very excited to see what developers on our platform will do from there. So that's a little bit about our product roadmap. We have a team of about 13 product folks and well over 100 engineers these days working on the product, and we are constantly growing. And we are working as hard as we possibly can to really build the future that we think is going to make it much more effective to communicate as a team and to be able to get more work done, and hopefully to do so in a way that makes your days a little bit more pleasant. Work days, may they be still. So, thank you.